Gates are back and racing.
The RSN Festival team is there for Caulfield's Group 1 treble. Matt Hill, Andrew Bensley and John Henry have the market moves, exclusive track mail and interviews and the calls.
But it's Mr. Brightside clear and he's going to rack up another one.
Your station for the Festival of Racing is RSN Racing and Sport, celebrating our 100th year of broadcasting.
Last Blue Diamond Day, Aussie punting battlers went boom! They tipped a $50 winner and found the Oakley Plate winner at $19.
Q-Man, I think has won it.
The Quaddie Killer was a boon for Quaddie punters, finding the $16 Blue Diamond winner. In fact, the average price of the battlers' winning tips was over $30. This Saturday, Aussie punting battlers are going for back-to-back Oakley Plate winners at odds. That's after nailing the 2- and 3-year-old Magic Million double this year at over 200 to 1. Aren't you tired of being tipped $2 favourites that get rolled? Wouldn't you rather cheer on $35 best bet winners? The big races are back when the battlers are at their best. So join the Battler Army now. Big races, big record, big odds at AussiePuntingBattler.com. Think, is this a bet you really want to place? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
The cream of the crop will go under the hammer February 24 at the Magic Millions Tasmanian Yearling Sale. Progeny by an impressive lineup of 50 individual sires highlight a catalogue of 126 quality lots. All lots offered are eligible to be nominated for the $20.7 million Magic Millions Race Series, with 28 races across 6 states, offering more races and more prize money. The Magic Millions Tasmanian Yearling Sale at Quercus Park, Carrick this Monday. For more information and to view the catalogue, visit magicmillions.com.au.
On RSN Racing and Sport, it's time for the grey areas with Jason Adams and George Ferrugia.
The kid was a human dynamo.
Are you sure you're talking about George?
George of the jungle, friend to you and me.
Good afternoon, Friday midday. It's time for Grey Areas, talking all things greyhound racing, building up to what is a big night at the Meadows tomorrow with the running of the Australian Cup. One of 3 Group 1s on the card, which is going to be absolutely spectacular. In the meantime, I'm going to duck off, George, as the Swans are on.
Are they?
So you and Johnny are going to take the reins. I'm going to head out the back, raid the fridge here at RSN and put the Bloods on.
Even for a practice game? What's going on?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm sticking around. How are you, my
friend?
You
won, didn't you? Are you playing now?
I don't know. I just got an update of the score. Swans 85, GWS 54. So we've got the chocolates. Not that it means one iota.
Campbell?
What about him?
He kicked 4 goals in the first half.
Did he?
Yeah.
Booming left footer.
There you go, mate.
Much like yourself.
No, right, mate, right.
Hey.
Not booming either.
John, this gentleman over here.
Yes, Joe. Yeah.
You would have heard his 3 tips on Wednesday for Sandown last night. Bang, bang, bang.
Well done, George.
Chocolates delivered once again.
Hopefully people are having a punt, because there's going to be a period where we don't tip winners. You've got to put your hand up. But more importantly, there was a darts multi that got up for you, which I think you probably should have shared with our listeners, but well done to you too, mate. We're in form.
Well, when you mentioned you were going to raise this on the show, I was expecting the utmost hostility.
No.
That this didn't go to air on Wednesday afternoon.
No. 180, 180, 180, 180. Is that what you bet?
Overs, unders for the first round of games in the Premier League this morning.
Unders, yes.
Yep. So now all 4 of them, $11. Thanks for coming.
Beautiful.
In the meantime, we all need plenty of coin, don't we, Georgie? Because, as I've just learned, the price of getting your car serviced these days is through the roof. Is that something you've experienced of recent time?
Thank you, Jason. Yeah. Needed new brake pads and rotor cuffs or whatever they're called. And he said if the wheels start smoking, it's not a big deal. I'm not sure what I've done here. A little bit expensive. Luckily, we've had a few winners lately, and hopefully that can service the car.
Always helps. Hey, Johnny, I know you've had some social outings with George at times. He does not miss free drinks and a feed. We went to an event on Wednesday night at Parliament House. There's Georgie there enjoying himself.
Well, I was invited.
Parliament House.
You don't miss, though. You do not miss.
I miss plenty of things, but that one I went to. It was a lovely setting, wasn't it, too, in Parliament House?
It was. Text messages have come in, George.
Yes.
Starts off with, Jason, I dislike you. You have me hooked and addicted to the Premier League darts. How good was Gerwyn Price this morning? Had the crowd pumping this morning. Kids aren't happy they don't get the TV before school. Bugger talking dogs. Let's just talk darts all day from Matty V. That is the best text this show's ever seen.
So no Bluey? Bluey out?
Bluey was out this morning.
Okay.
Darts was on, and you're right, Gerwyn Price. And this could possibly be related to greyhounds, and particularly you, George. When you go around a big night, you deliver. When you get one like Gerwyn Price, it's not so much his form that he's carrying into the match. It's the atmosphere and who he's up against. Because he took on Littler, knocked off Luke Littler first round.
And that's not easy to do.
Not easy to do.
No.
Then he knocked off the world number one to make it through to the final.
Well done,
won
Gerwyn.
the final.
Well done, Gerwyn.
And he's a passionate greyhound owner and supporter as well.
We've got
in the
UK. Really? Oh, he is too.
He is. That's him.
And Littler's a mad Manchester United fan. We've got Tim from Kilsyth. It's not a show without Tim. Afternoon, boys. Just one thing to say. Timmy Zoo and Cash. I like that. Very, very good.
Sorry, we're talking about Wednesday night. We had a good night out at Parliament.
Sorry.
And for those wondering what the hell is that about, GRV held an event there which had a good turnout of politicians and MPs there, which is, people out there probably thinking, well, why would you be doing that? But it's such an important thing to do, George, and I'm sure you'll elaborate on it further. But in situations that we're seeing all over the world at the moment, whether it be in New Zealand of recent months, whether it be, I think it's Wales at this point in time, having political support is just, it could not be more important in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing I discussed with a few. We got to speak to about 4 or 5 different members of Parliament, which was fantastic, including the racing minister, obviously, Anthony Carbines, and Tim Bull, the shadow minister. And as much as we can say it, both of them are absolutely pro-racing, see a huge future in what we're doing, and the levels of integrity that we're going through at the moment. And they understand. The one thing that I actually liked about it, especially when I was chatting to Tim Bull, was that he understands some of the hoops that a lot of people in the industry have to jump through to make sure that we're all above board. Which you and I know, Jace, that it happens anyway, but obviously optics and all this sort of stuff. And I thought it was really, really good that they stressed that we understand that there's some toll that goes on participants, because they have to. I just do it through an owner and a breeder, but I can imagine the trainers and those that have got farms, they've got to tick all these boxes. And I know it's a pain in the bum, but they were really appreciative of that, because we've got some of the best standards in the world, probably the best standards in the world.
Yeah, it's vital for the survival of the sport.
As a snapshot of what they said, they are all in for greyhound racing, and hopefully may long that continue. But and they said to us too that they do get a lot of kickback from antis and all these sort of stuff, but they're staunch and understand the importance of the industry, the amount of jobs that people get from it. I think it's over 5,000 people are employed, either directly or indirectly for greyhound racing. So it's huge. So, and they understand that, which was fantastic.
And as far as I believe, they have ticked off on something too, which would be of great. Would be very pleasing for a lot of participants out there. So I think that news will break in a couple of weeks. So we'll absolutely be covering that on Grey Areas when the time is right. Building up to the Meadows tomorrow night, the Australian Cup, obviously the headline. How many Australian Cups have you been to, Georgie?
Nearly all of them at the Meadows, but even going back to Olympic Park, probably about 3 or 4. And that's probably where my love of greyhound racing started, Jace. I know you kicked off later than me. Obviously, you're a lot younger than me, and your love of the sport centred around Sandown and the Melbourne Cup. That's your race. And for me, and I reckon for a lot of other people growing up, the Australian Cup was the race, and I think it had a lot to do with the iconic Olympic Park. I mean, if you picture it now, Jason, I often speak about this with some of the older people. Olympic Park being across the road from the MCG straight away is unbelievable. The iconic betting ring, Jason, it was huge. So picture Wentworth Park the way it is, with those big old grandstands. That's how Olympic Park was. The Australian Cup was a 4-week series with qualifiers. It was the race. It was the race to win. I was lucky enough to be on course. I was 13 years of age, I think, when China Trip won her second Australian Cup. No greyhound has ever won two. I went there with my Uncle Ray, who backed the second greyhound called True to Do, and she was 16-1. And I reckon he had about $100 each way, which back then was pretty big money. And I can't repeat on air what he said when she got beaten by about half a head or something. It was that close, but there was just so many iconic moments. He said, at Olympic Park.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, he said something like that.
Something like that.
And then the other one that sticks out for me, Jason, is Brett Lee winning the Australian Cup, because there's dominance and then there was his dominance. I mean, he was that much better than the second best greyhound in Australia, where we sort of always talk about who's the best greyhound in Australia. He and Fernando Bale were the two that were that far and ahead of everyone else, and he won that race by a mile. I think it was the first Australian Cup at the Meadows. He broke the track record. What a freak he was. So many great memories in the race. We've had a dead heat in an Australian Cup. It's just been littered with amazing storylines, as has been with the Melbourne Cup, but it's an iconic race.
How good would it be to bring Olympic Park back?
Can you imagine going to the footy and then crossing the road and going to a meeting at Olympic Park? Seriously, I mean, it was on a Monday night back then, but yeah.
Has any dog ever won it more than once?
Yeah, just China Trip.
Just China
92,
Trip.
93.
Yeah.
And Tim Zhu, from Kilsyde, Tim Zhu has an opportunity
to do it
tomorrow night from Box 8. Can he win it, Jace?
Well, on what we've seen over the past couple of weeks, of course he can.
It
doesn't matter what we say. It means absolutely zero what we say. But it'd be lovely to have Olympic Park back. We had a great text message come in on Wednesday suggesting that this show is the best thing since prime Jason Lincoln on the catching pen, which took the interest of some people. So what I want to open up to the text line, and that is via 0416 90 50 52. What show or elements would you like to bring back when it comes to racing specifically, but it can be anything? I saw a mate of mine make comment on one of the videos saying bring back the 5-minute warning and the count-up clock in the footy. That's relevant. I think that'd be a great decision.
Okay, yeah.
But anything you want to bring back, text in 0416 90 50 52. But before we get to Hillsville, Georgie, we're going to start touching on this Australian Cup at the Meadows tomorrow night. We'll go through this one runner by runner. So we'll do it in box draw order. First off, Zipping Hopkins from box 1. I mean, $17 the win, $3.70 the place. You'd have to say the place is of interest, not so much the win. He's going to get back in the field and run on better and probably just as good as one like Tim Zhu in the closing stages.
Yeah, I mean, we all know what connections of Zipping Hopkins want, and that's just some interference on that first corner where he's able to then work into the race. Because if there's clear running, Jace, he's going to find it tough. Even with Kenya All Class drawn next to him, who can use a little bit of the track, he's going to have things go his way. Very, very talented greyhound, and I know he's one of your favourites.
What's your view on Kenya All Class? I mean, I think he's under the odds at $5.50. I think he's grown a habit to prefer to run around other greyhounds, and I think with a fair few expected to be in front of him in the early stages of this, personally, I think you'll find it difficult. What do you think? Yeah,
well, first and foremost, I've got to give the greyhound credit because he fell, Jason, then come back, and his 2 runs have been enormous. So again, I want to touch on his chasing ability. He'll never give up, but I have concerns about him as well because his last 2 runs, he's gone 29.98 and 29.93, and I just think there's so much pace in the race. I just can't see a way through for him where he's going to dodge and weave his way through so many good greyhounds. Similar to what we said about Tim Zhu, to be honest, who ended up winning the Temlee. So obviously all these greyhounds are a chance, but he's not going to get my money.
At the boxes for the 7th at Hillsville, number 7, Barclay Street. It's been $3.20 into $1.85, and here's that time of the day. Fridays with Vic at the Ville. Let's get to Victoria Shore for the 7th at Hillsville.
Jason, thank you very much. So as our networks cross to us here for the 7th event, thanks to Mr. Hummel-Limos, I've got Barclay Street on top. I think will go really well. Does have a good PB here at the track too of 19 and 62, and some very competitive racing here, of course, and looking ahead to all things tomorrow night at the Meadows for the big Group 1. As we get set for a start here for the 7th at Hillsville, as we take you into the early afternoon, hope you've backed plenty of winners no matter where you're tuning in from. I think Barclay Street looks well placed here. Drawn the black rug, and then green light is switched on. We're set for a start, and they're off and chasing. And Barclay Street stepped well, as did Maximum Reid over on the outside, charging up the centre runs. Candles, Warrior Cell now looming towards the inside. Baldo, White Iverson there as well, wobbling about, and up the centre runs Sugaroo. Just just in front. It's Barclay Street getting the run on the inside, being chased by White Iverson, but Barclay Street extends towards the line and wins by about 3.5 on the line. Big win. White Iverson into second now, lining up for third place. That looks to be Maximum Reid holding up Warriors Cell and Candles. Further there to Tiles and Wine. Well back then would have been Sugaroo, one of the last in, and the time on the board. Best of the day so far, 19 and 38. Barclay Street, the good things home. Amended to 19 and 37. Number 7, the run home in 12.74. Now, let's see what the run to the first mark is. So, number 7. And a bit of a gap there back to White Iverson from Maximum Reid. 7, 2 and 8 numbers in the frame so far. The run home 12.74. 19 and 37 the amended time. Nice time here today. And in fourth place, number 5. So 7, 2, 8 and 5. Our interim numbers here at Hillsville on race number 7. 4.5 by a half. 4.5 by a half. So still awaiting that run to the split. There we go. 6.68. 6.68.
Thanks, Vic. So after 3 legs of the quaddie at Hillsville today, you need 2, 1 and 7 to be alive. The next is at 12.29. Number 7, Barclay Street, $1.80 the favourite and $1 the place. 2, White Aversion at $2.90. 8, Maximum Reid, $1.90. 5, Warrior Sal. The Quinella, $8.80. Exact at $12. Trifecta, $29. That first 4, 7, 2, 8 and 5, $101. And the running double, 1 and 7, has paid $11.70. Now, just quickly, Jace and George, if you've got a ticket alive in the quaddie there on 2, 1 and 7. The shortest way home this afternoon will be with number 2, Blind Ambition, at $198.
Thanks, Johnny. A few text messages have rolled in. Let's get through them and things that we'd want to bring back in any sort of facet. Why not put monkeys back on greyhounds? Works then. Why can't it work now? I'll tell you what, that won't ensure the survival of the sport politically.
No, absolutely not. I've seen some awesome photos of monkeys on the back of greyhounds.
What are we talking, 60 years ago?
Yeah, a long time, even more. Jace, can I touch on these ones? There's 2 of these. Bring back World of Sport on a Sunday arvo. One guy said on a Sunday morning, it had all the race replays from the day before, AFL coaches under the blowtorch and the wood chop. Now, this is before your time. It would be, John would understand it. So it would cover the World of Sport, but mainly AFL, but it would show the quaddie legs from Geelong Dogs, right? On a prime time on Sunday afternoon, after they've just talked about the AFL, they'd have a wood chopping competition where there'd be 3 guys. Wood chop. Jack O'Toole, was that the guy, the champion wood chopper?
David Foster.
Yeah, and
Jack O'Toole.
And the guy that chops the wood first wins.
Is this the sort of stuff where the winner went home with a bag of oranges or
a
something?
Meat tray or something like that. It was a great show. It was a great show. World of Sport.
Just happy to go home with both feet.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, everything you've spoken about, the wood chopping is the only thing missing from grey areas, so it's possibly something we could take a look at.
Yeah, and Gatorade drenching.
All right, thanks to Pete and Lara for one of those texts. The other one here, Georgie, and I want to address this on air. It's from the Prez. He says, boys, really enjoy the show. Know little about greys, but learning. If we had 10 boys spend $200, which would equal $2,000, can we get a start with a pup, a trainer, etc.? Where do we start? So, George, I'll let you speak about this one, but I mean, from my knowledge, $2,000 is not going to be anywhere near enough.
No, it's not. But you can get a share into a greyhound for that price, obviously, but not to kick off. But Prez, I'm sure we've got his number there somewhere. If we do, I can speak to him off air.
Well, what sort of dough do you need to get a good one, or a one that's got a chance?
Well, to buy a pup, it depends. If you want to buy a race dog, it could be as little as $1,500 and as much as $500,000, I suppose, okay. Depending on its ability. But when it comes to a pup, around the $5,000-$10,000 mark to buy a pup, John, and then to get it to a racing age, you're probably spending another $5,000 to $6,000, probably a little bit more. So that's where you're at. So that's why people get involved on a syndication level, because you've got a share in it as opposed to buying the whole greyhound. But Prez, we can have a chat to you about that sort of stuff, because I don't think there's enough done around. People don't know where to start. I think that's an important point that he makes.
If people say, why doesn't the sport do more about that? Is it fair to say that red tape's the biggest issue in that area?
Yeah, it is when it comes to advertising syndications, because horse racing have something called an ASIC licence where you're allowed to advertise, and greyhound racing had it once with the national draft and don't have it anymore. That's not to say it can't happen in the future, Jace, but that's the sticking point at the moment.
And there is fairy tales, Prez, and different ways to go about it. I mean, we only wind back the clock 6 months, and a greyhound like Blue Camaro was bought for $10,000 as a proven race dog
Yeah.
and went on to win a $1 million chase not long after. So there's some fairy tales out there. Clearly very, very difficult though, but absolutely appreciate your interest. And if you're keen, we'll elaborate on that for sure. Do you want to touch on that most recent text, George?
I got a text here, bring back meter maids at the Gold Coast.
I think Warwick Cup is an attendee at the Shepparton Cup and
We'll ask him. He was a meter maid for a while, wasn't he?
That's why, that's why it triggered my brain.
100 goals for your beloved football club.
Yep.
What are we up to, Vincent Bale?
We're up to Vincent Bale. So he'll jump from box 3 in the Australian Cup tomorrow night. I've got him on top. I think he's a massive chance, George, because I expect him to be ahead of Kenya All-Class after 50 metres. He will be ahead of Zipping Hopkins. And he won't match Mapunga Tully for speed, but she's going to stick to that middle part of the track and give him opportunities. So that's the way that I read his race early, and therefore I think he's a massive hope.
The thing we spoke about, Jace, is that his first split last week was 5:22, and before that it was 5:26. What Team Grenfell want is that 5:14 split that he registered when he ran 29:41. If he can do that, Jace, and by the way, he's my tip too. If he can do that, I think he can win the race. He's an absolute star. Got a terrific record at this track. Pardon me. And with Mapunga Tully using a bit of the track, it's sort of in his hands to clear the 1 and the 2, get his position, and then it's game on.
Mapunga Tully's been exceptional over the past couple of weeks. I mean, a replica of that is going to have her winning the Australian Cup, I'd say, but it's just a matter of replicating that with a lot of pressure on her outside.
Yeah, and her last 2 weeks have been unbelievable. Again, she's another one that at her best split, she went 5 seconds flat, which is just incredible from box 7. The big challenge for me is what the 5 and 6 do with her, if they go with her early, because then I think it opens up the race for a lot of them.
Excavation is one of those, and being outside of Mapunga Tully, do you see that as being very awkward for him in that first 20, 30 metres?
Yeah, it could be. It just depends on how far she wants to push off or whether she'll sort of straighten a little bit once she sees the pressure coming on the outside. I don't know, Jace, with her, because I just think you sort of have to scrap a little bit what she did early in her career. I just think she's continually improved. Again, he's got to be a big chance, Excavation, doesn't he? Yeah. Yep. I think because he'll improve off his run last week. I read an article where Luke Thompson mentioned how he probably hasn't had the best out of all three. He's probably had the most checkered preparation. So you'd think he'd strip a lot fitter from next week.
Yeah, he was also on Sky on the morning line Monday morning and said exactly that this third run, basically this campaign is going to be when we see Excavation peak. Deadly Avenger will jump from box 6. Now, he had the fastest time to the first 20 metres last week. Is he a sleeping giant at all of this field? Are we not respecting what he's done in his past dozen starts?
Only because of the his lid pinging capabilities, Jace. And as I said, we've seen it in a couple of different states. So I think he's clearly you cannot say he's not a chance, especially with a PB of 29.63. How about those 3 greyhounds drawn next to each other, Jace? They've got a PB of within a length of each other. It's so tight at the top.
Flying Zulu from 7. He's had the luxury of box 1 in his past couple of starts. Is 7 still allowing him to be a legitimate contender?
I was speaking to one of his biggest fans yesterday, and he's just a little bit worried about the box draw. Has to ping at his absolute best. He's got a early PB of 4.97 here, hasn't he, at the Meadows, and a 29.40 odd run. He's the fastest, as fast as any greyhound in the race. There's no doubt about it. But Jace, with that speed in 4, 5, and 6, it makes it problematic.
Tim Zhu, I mean, say what you want about him. Say he's unsuitably drawn, he's going to get back in the field, whatever. Because anyone who's said that, he's made him look foolish in the last couple of weeks. What's your judgment on him from the pit?
Well, he's made us look foolish because we just didn't think he was drawn well enough in races against very, very good greyhounds. Again, he's run 29.82 and 29.91, and I discussed on Wednesday, Jace, that you're probably going to have to run quicker to win this, especially if a couple of those greyhounds in 4, 5 and 6 get clear running and Scarpa away. So that's my only concern with him. But he's going to give his all. Can he create history? I'd love to see it happen in a sense, because we've been talking about China Trip for so long. I mean, over 30 years now, and no greyhound's been able to emulate what she did. So it would be an unbelievable effort. But again, I can't tip him on top, Jace, but again, Tim from Kilsyth is going to love that statement.
So we're both with Vincent Bale.
Yeah. Perfect. Especially almost each way odds, Jace, around the $5 mark, probably $1.80 a place. You sort of want to have a play there. It's one of those races that I want to stick to other races on the card that I think we're a lot more confident, because it's just one of those tough races.
All right, running out of time. We'll get on with it. So a couple of text messages have come in. Bring back the VB hand grenade stubbies. They haven't gone anywhere, have they? They still around?
What are the hand grenade stubbies?
Yeah, they were in
Just
the
the
shape
typical-
of a... Yeah.
Oh, were they? Fantastic.
Another text message from Steve from Bendigo. Bring back normal life, competitive sport for a start.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe focusing on junior sport.
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. Okay, the Fanabale Stayers, Georgie, race 6. Who do you think's going to win that? So I just can't go against Unreal Speed. There's too much X factor and brilliance about him for me to make a case for another runner.
I think Ethanol Water at her best is the older greyhound that can beat him, Jace, because she went 42.73 last week and she probably lost 5 or 6 lengths in running. So if that didn't occur and she puts in a performance that we know she can, she probably starts this at $1.80. But the fact that she put in that performance and still won, but went 3 lengths slower than Unreal Speed, she's $3.30 and he's $2.50. He's my tip too, Jace. I think the speed in 4 and 5 brings him into the race a little bit. I think he'll get clear air from out there, and I think he's incredibly hard to beat.
So that's race 6, the Fanabale Stayers. Race 8 is the Group 1 Rookie Rebel. I'll be tipping Warm Cockles because I think he'll begin ahead of Ethanol Volume. He'll absolutely begin ahead of Palawa King and shake it off in box 4 when she's under the pump, can shift off the track. So I think he's got good opportunity. How did you read it?
I'm with you, big Warm Cockles fan. I'm going to have a play. I'm going to have a little bit of a sit on the fence type bet here. Warm Cockles at close to $6, Jace, and Raiders Guide's been one of my favourite for a long time. He's close to $5, so I'm going to have a bit of a play on both of those greyhounds.
And for your set of tips for the Meadows tomorrow night, what have you got for us?
Okay, we're going to kick off in race 2, Jason. A place bet here on the greyhound drawn box 1 without a trace for Peter Prosciutto. Began well on debut and then missed the kick last week, went 5.32 early, but got to the line quite well behind Tribeca. I'm not suggesting for 1 second it can beat Tribeca, but if we can get certain odds about without a trace, I think it's a place bet, race 2, number 1. And then kick over to race 5, number 2, and people are going to say, oh no, you're tipping this greyhound again, Orly Bale. But he's just bred to run 600 metres, or the way his characteristics, Jace. He comes into a grade 5 after being up against the likes of Dacey's Rory, Stormy Day, Kanya All Class, Beach Bursky. So it's a bit of a drop in class for Orly Bale. Really, really keen on him as well. What else have we got, Jace? Race 9, number 5, another one of my favourites, Smooth Plane. Again, it's a big drop in class for him. It's a small field. I think he'll be incredibly hard to beat. He should just be winning this race. He's $1.90, Jace. I thought he'd be a little bit shorter. I think he'll be winning that race. So they're my 3. I really like Unreal Speed too. Out of all the Group 1s, he's the greyhound I think that will get the sit on them. Doesn't rely on a lot of luck. Because he stays off the track and I think he makes his own luck, and his mid-race speed's exceptional.
G. Ferrugia, 3 from 3 at Sandown last night. If you want to recap those selections for the Meadows tomorrow night, make sure you do so with the Watchdog app this afternoon. What about your obscure outlay before we get to Hillsville? This is the highlight of my week. You're 11 from 12. We got the Indigenous All-Stars home last Saturday night. Where are we looking this weekend?
Okay, so obviously we've got no NFL, we've got no AFL. We'll hit AFL pretty hard when it starts, but we're going to go to the EPL, the English Premier League.
Mate, this is not your bread and butter.
Arsenal versus West Ham. Arsenal minus 1.5, so they've got to win by over 2 goals. They've got to win by 2 goals, $1.90. They're second on the table. They'll be desperate for a win. They're playing at home.
The Gunners.
The Gunners minus 1.5, Jace.
The Gunners. All right, they're at the boxes at Hillsville. If you want to get along to the Meadows tomorrow night, make sure you do. Children's activities. There's happy hour and a half with $5 schooners, live music, on-course bookies. You cannot go wrong at the Meadows tomorrow night. If you can't get there, make sure you do tune into the coverage uninterrupted all night with myself, Mark Olmos, and Nathan Rooney. He tipped 8 winners there last Saturday night. Just quickly, George, before they get started at Hillsville, Aussie and Fred had passing in the past week.
Yeah, absolutely. Unbelievable sire who had to work really hard. He threw the likes of Elite Machine, Big Energy, Tim Zoo, Zipping Curios, a star greyhound. Rest in peace.
All right, that's a wrap for Grey Areas. We'll be back on Wednesday. In the meantime, Andrew Bensley will be here straight after the 8th at Hillsville.
Two were set for a start and they're often chasing, and Blind Ambition got away to a good start. Spotty can run nicely away and on the pace nice and early. Cruella there as well. Out deep is Capella's Zinzan Charlie up the centre run special. Cian Benora Point starting to wind up, and one of the last is Rapid Fire Morris. But taking over, it's Blind Ambition, the favourite, put the paw down and goes for home. Blind Ambition across the line by some 5 lengths. Into second, out deep was Capella. Now lining up, we've got a good go here for the minor end of the prize. Rapid Fire Morris, Benora Point, Spotty can run was just off them. Further then to Cruella, out in the deep, Zinzan Charlie, Special Cian, one of the last in, 19 and 20 the time. Blind Ambition has posted the best time so far, and a lovely run to the line there for Owen Gladman. He's got the kennel going well. Blind Ambition, very nice win. 19 and 17, the split there in 6:46. 6:46, so the run to the first mark there, very, very quick. 19 and 17 for this level. Good to see. 2 from 7, and a very competitive affair for third place. So waiting on the judge's decision there. There was a number of them lining up for third and fourth. Now we've got 2, 7 and 3 in the frame, just awaiting fourth place. 19 and 17 the amended time. 2, 7, 3 and 1. Our interim numbers here at Healesville on race number 8. 4 3/4, the official margin by a neck. 4 3/4 by a neck on the 8th event here in 19 and 17. The split 6:46. So a good strong run there to the mark. The run home in 12:71. 2, 7, 3 and 1. 2, 7, 3 and 1. 4 3/4 by a neck.
Up, and those 2 photos go up. Jason, could you count the 5?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Lovely. All right, guys, fire away. Should we close that door? That's right.
Very little of it gets through.
Oh, sorry.
You're probably right.